So now we have reports of standing or ongoing BOG committees. Executive committee, yes, we had some executive committee meetings. The agenda that you're looking at is a product of our last executive committee meeting. I don't know if Governor Abell is here yet. He is here. Welcome. Okay, Governor Abell's here. Apex Awards Committee.
All right. Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, everyone. Mr. President, I want to apologize for missing the roll this morning. It was an unusually chaotic morning in the Abell household. All mornings are chaotic. This one was just outside the ordinary. As far as the Apex Committee is concerned, we have selected the nominees or the recipients. The recipients have been informed. The recipients are listed on the WSBA website. If you've not had a chance to review the names of the recipients, please do so. They are leaders in our profession, and it's going to be a wonderful evening for us to recognize them and honor them. The virtual awards ceremony will take place on September the 22nd, with more information to come. Thank you, Mr. President.
Personnel Committee, Governor Higginson. I don't believe she's joined the meeting yet. Yeah, there is an agenda item later today that's going to be covered by our personnel director, I believe. So we'll do that then. Okay, Legislative Committee, Governor Williams-Ruth.
No report.
Nominations Committee, Governor Lauren Boyd and President-elect Dan Clark.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm happy to give it. I think we've met twice since our last board meeting. No, not a lot to report, just the general work of the committee in improving nominations and appointments. I want to thank Paris specifically at this meeting, as always. She has been super great in these committees, in our committee meetings, getting all the materials to us, organizing everything, proposing new procedures, and she answers all our questions. We've been throwing a lot of questions at her lately, and she always knows the answer. So I really appreciate working with her.
Diversity Committee, Governor Angeville.
Thank you, Mr. President. A few things to report on the diversity front. We are moving towards, hopefully at this meeting, addressing the issue of our structure. This week, we co-hosted the ARC reception, which was a reception in conjunction with Seattle U 1L students who come from underrepresented backgrounds. We had a keynote speaker, Judge Lisa Mansfield. It was very well attended. And after the keynote speech, we had breakout rooms where the lawyer mentors were given an opportunity to practice some mentorship with the students. It was a terrific event. So that was sort of the big thing that happened, and stay tuned for more to follow in the coming months.
Thank you, Governor Angeville. Long Range Strategic Planning Council, that's me. We do have an agenda item that you'll all get to learn about later today. We've had the big project that the first thing that the council was asked to review was an exploration of the fiscal and operational resources needed to make the Washington State Bar Association desk book access free for all members. Currently, of course, desk books operate under a business model projected to be revenue neutral in the next few years. Our study process includes taking a wide range of the desk book users and producers, including law librarians, authors, and editors, and representatives from the Oregon State Bar, which is the only state bar that we're aware of that offers desk book-like products to members for free. Well, you might say it's included in some of the payments that the Oregon State Bar members make, let's put it that way. We expect our deliberations will take several more months, at which point we're going to give a we're going to make a proposal forward to the Budget and Audit Committee and then the entire board. The second project that we're working on is the project called the Legal Link. This would be an opt-in directory available to all members by which they could enter a wide range of marketing details such as practice areas and geography. On the end user, the directory would allow legal clients to answer specific questions about their needs to get a matching list of lawyers. So that's the other project we're working on. More to come on that. The other project that we're working on is an agenda item later on today devoted to long-term plan for the Washington State Bar Association's offices when the current lease expires towards the end. I think it's in December of 2026. And that's been a big, huge focus. And you'll hear about that later today when Sarah Nagowski and I talk to you later. Okay, member engagement work group, Treasurer Peterson and Governor Francis Adwale.
Thank you, President Tolleson. The membership council continues to be the funnest council or group of the BOG, so I'm happy to report that as usual. Right now, we're focusing in on really trying to get the survey done, kind of a short survey to get the member feedback as to ethos. So that's what we're working on right now. It's going well, and we're on track to get feedback back to the BOG in a timely manner. That's it for that report.
You have another report, Budget and Audit Committee.
This continues to not be the funnest committee of the BOG, but it continues to be very interesting and intellectually challenging. So that's always good. We will have the staff has been Director Platchy and others have been diligently working on putting the budget together for next year. The Budget and Audit Committee has started the review, but we really haven't given any feedback at this time. But we will be presenting that to the full BOG tomorrow. And really, that's just to get feedback. The Budget and Audit Committee values the feedback of the full BOG. So please take a close look at it and give us whatever feedback you have for us so we can take that into full account as we continue down this fun and time-consuming process. Thank you.
Any questions for Governor Peterson on either of his reports?
Yes, Mr. President, I have one.
Okay, and then you, and then followed by Governor President-elect Clark.
Yeah, Governor Peterson, I just want to understand the scientific approach you take to determine what is fun, funner, or funnest.
Yeah, it's kind of a judgment call. I could be wrong, but I think I'm correct.
Thank you, Governor.
Governor President-elect Clark.
Thanks, Brian. I just wanted to comment that I think the last 2 years on DNA were more funner than this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Equity and Disparity Work Group, Governor Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, the Equity and Disparity Work Group is winding up its work. Today, you will get a report not too long from now regarding what has happened with the experiences in the Justice System Subcommittee. And I don't want to just talk about that, but we'll be giving you a report from that committee, which has finished up its work. And then the other committee, which is looking at possible changes to GR 12.2, has a draft and has begun to actually work with staff to go out to various stakeholders to get their comments before it comes back to the committee to be voted on and then brought to the Board of Governors for its consideration of sending it on to the Supreme Court. In this process, the way 12.2 actually works, since it's a GR, would be that if the proposals we make are agreed to by the board, it goes to the Supreme Court for their action and their process. And then if the Supreme Court acts, then it would come back to the Board of Governors for the Board of Governors to make whatever appropriate changes to our bylaws that mirror 12.2. So 12.2C. So with that, I do want to thank the members on the Equity and Disparity Work Group for their hard work over this 2-year period, and glad to know that we have, I think, 2 key proposals that that's come out of it. So thank you.
Thank you, Governor Stevens. Supreme Court Bar Licensure Task Force, Governor Williams-Ruth.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Supreme Court Bar Licensure Task Force continues to meet. The first, I want to take just a moment to express publicly my condolences for Dean Rooksby and the passing of his wife. Dean Rooksby had been our original co-chair with Justice Montoya Lewis, and he stepped down last summer. And just to know that I've been thinking of him and his family. As many of you know, I stepped in to serve as the interim co-chair from November through this past week, and was able to move the task force forward and keep on our charter as we have a deadline of December 31st. With the hiring of Dean Anthony Verona at Seattle University School of Law, Chief Justice Gonzalez has now appointed Dean Verona to take over as co-chair with Justice Montoya Lewis, who I spoke with last Friday, Monday, Tuesday, I can't remember. I spoke with her recently, and good news is those may recall that it was publicly announced in May that she had been taking a leave of absence from the court. She is still on leave, but she is recovering and is getting better and is going to be at the task force meeting coming up on Monday. My final work product as the interim co-chair was to draft a status report to the court for their en banc, which basically advised the court that we were all the way through all of our deliverables. There's one deliverable that specifically relates to the query and identity of those who were granted diploma privilege in 2020. And the task force has determined that it's not in the best interest of the task force to use that group as a sample to indicate whether or not diploma privilege is a good idea or not, given that they were not planning to be diploma privilege admittees. They were thrust into that situation because of a global pandemic and the unrest that was happening surrounding systemic racism and injustice in this country. And so we believe that, and rightly so, the task force agrees with the Bar Association efforts to continue to protect those admittees and not use them as data points. And so the last deliverable is what recommendations for changing and amending the process. And those next 2 meetings, July 25th and then August 20, hold on one second while I look at my calendar, 22nd, are really going to be our 2 public meetings where the alternatives to exams are going to be debated, discussed, and then we're going to be moving towards the recommendation phase and drafting of the report to the Supreme Court. It's been an extremely rewarding experience. There is thousands of pages of scholarly works, articles, data points that talk about the history of the bar exam and specifically the exclusionary intent of licensure process that began in this country in the 19th century that has continued going on forward. And it has been difficult and hard to even grasp the idea that those policies were still in place even up to 10 and 20 years ago. And I'll use myself as an example that recently as the 90s, being a member of the LGBTQ community was seen as a moral defect that could be used to keep you from being able to sit for the bar exam. So I know this board has a resolution. I'm hoping to revisit that with an opportunity to present now that this task force has met, to share with the board some of the substance. So that way myself and Governor Couch will not be seen as not supporting the actions of this board, but that the evidence as told to the Supreme Court in the interim report is that recommendations for alternative pathways will be recommended. They haven't been decided yet, but there's a consensus of the task force that having something other than a bar exam for new admittees, and by the way, you can be a member of the Washington Bar without taking the Washington Bar exam. We have admission through motion. There's other pathways already. So this isn't just brand new, but that we're looking at adding one or more additional pathways. So the next 2 months are going to be fascinating. If you would like that information for the public Zoom link, please feel free to reach out and tune in. It's going to be good times.
I believe Governor Clark has his hand up.
Okay, with that report, I wondered on the exclusionary bar functions, was that in our state or was that in other states? As far as you commented that, I mean, like, for example, some members of Q Law, you said years ago, were not allowed to take the bar. Was that in our state or was that in another state, Brent?
The public record relating to it specifically is New York and Florida.
Okay.
But again, the bar exam in its inception and as it was evolved through the ABA and through the early 20th century was designed to keep Black and brown people from becoming lawyers.
Sure. I'm just curious, has there been anything for our state though that has done that? That you guys have found as far as, you know what I mean? Like,
yes, when Washington State Bar Exam was created, initially, it was discriminatory. You could not take. And again, I'm happy to connect you with the chair of our history subcommittees that presented an hour-and-a-half long history specifically relating to the history of the Washington State Bar that can give all of those data points to you specifically.
Okay, Brent, thank you so much.
Any other questions for Governor Williams-Ruth on this task force? Okay, Taxicab Committee, immediate past President Kowski.
Thank you, President Tollefson. Taxicab, many people ask, what does that stand for? What do we do? It's the task force administering exenial involvement of court-appointed boards. This was the result of conversations that Executive Director Nevitt and I had with Justice Stevens and Justice Yu about how we could better administer and facilitate and work with the court-appointed boards. I believe there are 6 or 7 of them. We've been working hard for several months to come up with a proposed policy that would address some of the concerns from the court-appointed boards and some of the concerns over the years from the WSBA's perspective. We are in the final stages of putting that policy together. It will then go to the various boards for their consideration, revisions, and then we are targeting November's Board of Governors meeting for a presentation that we would have a proposal at that time to how to better administer and facilitate in partnership with these court-appointed boards. So expect to see something at the November date if President-elect Tollefson, or I'm sorry, President-elect Clark, we're able to fit that in. That would be the ideal time that we would think that we'd be ready for a proposal. So more to come later.
I was wondering if you could share with everybody the we, because I'm on that committee, but there were several committee meetings that were literally canceled, so we didn't have much movement on this project for a while. Maybe you could share the we.
I believe we've had one that was, we didn't have a quorum. The we is representatives from all of the court-appointed boards. They include former President Mangia, former President Crossland, former Governor Michael Cherry, and others, all representing all of the board, the court-appointed boards. And then there are several governors, and yourself, President Tollefson, which we've had trouble having our governors come. So I encourage the governors to participate in our meetings, because again, I think that was the problem with our quorum, is that we lacked our own participants. But we're on a good path, and I think just a couple more meetings, we'll have something, and we'll be able to present, like I said, in November.
Okay, but the impression I got was that some of the meetings were canceled simply because you and Executive Director Nevitt and three particular board chairs, namely the Triple LT board chair, the Practice of Law board chair, and the Access to Justice board chair, were going to work on a document as a kind of a group of 5 with nobody else involved.
Well, we did have a smaller set of participants to do the actual drafting, and then we reported back at the regular meetings to get some input and then refinement. So that's been with the full support of the entire task force.
But no, if I get the impression correctly, some of the other boards that are being administered by the Bar Association don't seem to be worried one way or the other. It's just those 3 boards.
I don't believe that's entirely correct. They all have the same interest in trying to better facilitate. Some have run into incidents over the years that have been more, troubling to some of the boards, but every single member of the task force has said that this is in the best interest of trying to administer these boards better for purposes of clarity and defining our role as well as theirs.
Thank you, past president. Should anybody else have any questions for the past president, chair of this committee?